The following program is a production of Naleo TV.
And aloha. My name is Rockwood. Welcome back to my show where I'm going to teach you how to paint. In the last episode, we painted this. We started out by painting the background, and then what we did was we took a drawing and we traced it off onto the background, and then we started painting. I'm using acrylic paints, and I told you about I'm using a canvas board, but what also I use is what we call stretch canvas. It's got the boards right here, and everything is all stapled to the back right here. This is a more professional type of canvas, what a lot of people do. But for your home, these are a little bit cheaper, they're easier to get, and they don't flex in anything like that. So if you put them on a flat surface like this, it's real easy to paint on. So today, we're going to pick up where we left off last time, and we're going to finish painting in these little, I don't know if they're called plates or scales or what, but I'm just going to paint this in here. Now this is dry from the last episode, so I can actually do a second coat already. And you can see how I don't really dip a lot of paint in here. It's kind of wet, because I'm just going for moving it around and getting my shapes where I want them. And you can see how this fin here is actually flipped. It's kind of flipped up backwards like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the little shadow under here like that to separate. And then I'm going to wipe this off, the excess paint right there. And you can see that it's still wet, really wet, so I'm going to mop that up, if you will. And then, while that's drying, I'm going to come over here and lay these or plates, I guess. I am going to paint the underside here, but when you look at turtles, the black plates are generally on top of the fins, and underneath they're actually a brownish color. So we'll get these here. And then while we're doing that, we're going to do the back fins. But notice how I'm going up to that white, the highlight right there. I don't want to erase that because then I'd have to go back and paint it again. Now you don't see a lot of that stuff because it's more in the shadow area. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. Now see how I'm working right off the tip? See how that brush is almost a point right there? You'll have to, when you go by your brushes, you're going to have to find the one that does that. I'm not going to tell you that there's a specific kind of brush because, you know what, I use all kinds of brushes. Also, since I started this, I've done this whole thing with these two brushes. Okay, so this one's technically, it's a flat tip like that. So if you pull that out, slightly rounded, and this is just a straight tip. So we're just going to fit that point right into the corner there. So we're going to pull that out. Just be careful, just watch what you're doing, and it'll look really, really nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to put a little bit more black in here just to darken that up a little bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I layer these so that I get that depth in between those black marks on their beak. I'll call it a beak. I don't know what it's called because, you know, if you're like me, you think they look like a parrot too. Now, what I'm going to do is wash that black out there. I don't like this tip right here on the wing, right on the fin right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch that out just a bit by coming under here with the black, or the Payne's gray. I refer to it as black a lot. And then, see how I stretch that out just a little bit? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my light brown and a little bit of white. See what it is. And now I'm just going to go in here. Bring that down like that. Now that looks a lot better. Okay, so now clean that up a little bit. Spin this back around. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here with my dark brown and my light brown. Technically it's more of a medium brown, because if I add white to it then it becomes a light brown. But so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put these plates under here like this. Now there is a pattern, but because it's art, I really don't care that it's absolute, exact, and perfect. I just want it to look like a honu, and that is pretty like that, right? So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take that same brown. This is my favorite part of doing this painting. Now, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put this little half moon circle right in the eye. And I'm going to put in an iris. And it's a brown iris right there, because if you look really close to a turtle, you'll see that they have a brown eye right there, which is what makes them almost human, because it does look kind of human, except for the black background. And then I'm going to take that same brush and I'm going to dip it into the white ever so slightly, so I have just a little bit of white right there. And then I'm going to take it straight up and I'm just going to put a dot right there so it shows the highlight from the sun reflecting on their eye. Then, pardon me, with that same white and the same tip action, I'm going to go right over this, and I'm going to, so that we know that that fin has been flipped. We're going to come in with that detail like that, and then we're going to go in between those plates, and we're going to just put a little dab of white so that we see that reflection. Now, if you pay really close attention, which I apologize if you can't, but you'll notice that my brush is separated like that, and they do that. Acrylic paint just, I don't know why it separates, it just does. So what I do is I just go get some more paint and put that point back on it. And then we can go back in and just put a little dab right on top of this. We're gonna drag that down just a little bit, because I don't want too much white underneath here. Now I'm gonna rinse that off, dab it down here, but it's still kind of wet, a little moist. So now I can take that and blend it down so that it kind of blends into the underside of that fin. So it's not so bright white under there. You see, you know what? This is a little bright for me right now. So I'm gonna take that and erase a little bit of that so that I lighten it up. And all I've got is just a little bit of moisture on the brush. And I can erase that. See, that looks way better. Now, we're going to do the same thing over here on this wing. I call them wings because I know most of you have been snorkeling, diving, or whatever, and you've seen these guys, and it literally looks like they're flying through the water. Again, we're going to rinse that off a little bit, try it, and go back in here and blend it to that brown. Okay, same thing, right on his head. We're going to put just a hair of white coming over the top of his brow, in between that plate there, and we're going to smooth this out right like that. Then we're going to come in between these plates, because if you look at honus, they literally have, it's a lot more white on their head where those plates are like that. If you also look really close at a real honu, these are divided. There's a little, a fine hairline that literally goes in between there. I'm not going to do that because that's just going to be way too time consuming and it's not necessary. You look at that and you see a honu. Okay, so let's do the same thing down here, but I'm going to take just a touch of brown, and I'm going to come down here because I want it subtle, because it's a little further away. And then again, we're going to go in here. And I'm going to take just a little bit more Payne's Gray because I want to put a shadow right across it. Now this is all dry from the last show. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I re-wet that with a little bit of brown here. And a little bit of dark brown. And I'm going to take that brown and white again, because this underside here is actually further away from the sunlight, so we're just going to put some dotted brown spots in here, and then we're going to blend it into that fin so that it actually looks like it's attached to the honu that way. And then a little bit of dark brown, because it's going to get darker as it goes backwards, but it still has that lighter brown and white mixed in there. I'll do the same thing up there. So now we got all that texture so that it gives it that realistic feel. Again, I'm not going for photorealistic, I'm just going for pretty. Then I am going to grab one more brush. I got so many brushes, I'm going to figure out which one I want. I'm going to use this one here. This is an outlining brush. What that means is it's got longer bristles on there. So we get it a little wet, like that. Now what I'm going to do, pardon me, I'm going to go into the dark brown. I'm pulling off most of the paint on the side right here so that I get more of a chisel look to it. So you can see that chisel. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to divide up this belly plate. I'm going to bring that down to like this. Come down here like this. And this actually goes right down the center of the belly plate. And then we're going to put these dividing lines in here, just because it looks more like a turtle when we do that. And then, to really make that detail pop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here with some yellow and some white. And I'm going to put my highlight right along this edge of it. Now notice I'm not dragging the paintbrush in a straight line. In order to make it look straight, I'm literally putting the brush down, dragging it in the direction that I want that to go, and that way I can follow that line that I've already painted on there, and I don't have to try and make it perfectly straight. I can, it's just easier for me to do it like this, and it's easier for you to do it like that because you can learn how to drag it easier. Now what I'm doing is I'm just filling in the detail highlights in here so that this looks beautiful. There was a ball of white on there, so in case you didn't catch what I did there. So now some of those scratches, remember last time we were talking about how the Honus crawl on the sand? Well, like they're dark here, they would be light up here so that we can see those scratches like that. And see now you can see that the reflection of the sun on there is really nice. This is so much fun to do. I really, really encourage you to get some supplies and follow along with me as I paint this stuff. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of water. And I'm using the dirty water because I don't need the clean water for this. But I'm going to take that in the wedge shape, and I'm going to come right here around that eye, and I'm going to put some highlights right there just to make that eye pop just a little bit more, and then come up along his beak right here. And again, see how I'm doing that pulling motion. Add some more white dots just down here just to make sure that we see the separation from his neck and his back right there. Now what we're going to do, because I love detail, so we're just going to take a little bit of yellow here, drag it out a little bit so that we get that wedge. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull a white line down, a yellow line, because those plates on their shell, actually, there's 13 of them, so we're going to put these like this. So now you can see more detail. Detail is so important. Now, I see something that I could have done better. Now, see, you're probably looking at that go, wow, that looks really good. But what I notice right here, the beak actually hangs over that little chin area right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here with my Payne's Gray. I'm going to put a little notch right there, and then I'm going to bring this out and over this so that he has a bit of an overbite. See, these are the kinds of things that when you pay attention to photos of real Honus, then you can picture exactly what it is you want to do. Now right now I'm just erasing some of it so that it's a real fine line right there. And then I'm going to blend this, let me get that other brush. Blend this into the beak a little bit more. Let's grab a little bit of white. It is real possible to grab up too much paint and go to paint something and you have a big glob on there. That's real easy to fix. Just take your clean brush and wipe it away. Now, I'm going to come around here like this and get some more pure white. And I'm going to go back up under here. Then I'm going to draw that shadow Now see how I just put a bunch on there? Now I'm going to take that brush and I'm going to go back over here to create that shadow so that it doesn't look real harsh. And by using the Payne's gray instead of black, that looks like a shadow as opposed to a solid black light thing. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Bring this out a little bit and get that shape. I think I'm going to put just a hair of the Payne's gray under here, just to give this a little bit more shadow and depth under here. Now what we're going to do is take a little bit of white, draw it out till I get a nice wedge like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of design like right here so I can see the folds of the skin. Now see how that black is still kind of wet right there? See how it's helping me to get that line work of that skin coming around like that. That looks really cool. Again, we're not going for perfection. We're not going for photorealism. We're just going for really super pretty. A little bit more white right here is going to make that pop. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit more white right in here. But notice how I'm trying to keep that line separated between the body and the belly plate. Beautiful, right? So let's put, this looks a little light right here. Oh, I see what I missed over there. Let's make this a little darker here. See, sometimes as this dries, it lightens up a little bit because the Payne's gray is not black. There's black in it, but it's not black. So if it dries and it's lighter than you wanted, just hit it with some more. You double up on it and it becomes the black you want. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the dark brown and I'm gonna make my plates under this wing here. And I'm just gonna blend them and fade them into the black down here. I will tell you one thing. You can paint this and paint this and paint this, and every time you look at it, if you see something else, you have two choices. Keep painting, or get to a point where you just look at it and you go, yep, done. Now, you sign it, and you can frame it, or you can put a little glue tag on the back so that you can hang it like this, or do whatever you want. It's just so much fun. So, I'm gonna sign it right now. I don't usually sign with this paint here. I use a different paint for that, but let's see how it works with this one. Now, I always sign down here in the bottom right corner. This is one of the hardest things for artists to learn how to do. Write really super small with a paintbrush. Because I know a lot of you are probably saying, you can't write this small with a pencil. And that's how you sign your name. And I would prefer you put your name on there instead of your initials, because if you were lucky enough, fortunate enough, to get your paintings in an art gallery or a store or anything like that, people know that Rockwood did that, not JR, not BJ, not CJ, whatever. Put your name on there so people know who you are. And I think that's the conclusion of my second show, and I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned something. If you didn't, well, watch the next show. Hopefully I teach you something next time. Until then, aloha, ahui ho.
The preceding program was a production of Naleo TV.